My name is Navtaj Chandok. I'm your host. Today is the networking meeting we have been doing since April 2005. And just to let you know, we have never missed a meeting. It didn't matter how many people showed up, whether it's snowstorm or something. We have conducted this meeting once in a month on a consistent basis. More or less based upon the commitment from people like yourself. And that's how it works. So we have a lot of very capable people here, a lot of experts, tons of experience, a lot of credibility, very well known across Canada. These experts will be happy to enlighten you tonight. So this whole thing is all based upon information and getting to know each other. You will find the people here from all across Canada, possibly from many different provinces altogether. So here is some scenario. This is something a little hot topic. I just thought I'd share with you. I just got it from internet. People want to come to Canada for a better life, and they say they won't find a housing. They're coming for education, coming for healthcare, and they're saying are we moving again to Canada? And now a lot of Canadians are leaving. Why are they saying, "Oh, I'm retiring. I'm a nurse. I got a job in Australia. I'm a healthcare worker looking for a better life." People say, well, I lived here for 20 years, nothing's changed. Well, unfortunately, this is how Canadians feel about Canada as we speak. But in this economy, they always offer great opportunities for you. So when you ask about Canada, hey, why Canada? Number one, they said way too expensive. Real estate expensive, gas prices, cell phone expensive, internet income taxes are way too much. Taxes on top of taxes, groceries way too high, cars, insurance, smartphones, whatever the reasons are. On the other hand, those people who are coming in as refugees, they just find, we have a major issue, which is real estate. Now, it also offers opportunities for us. It's a great opportunity for Canadian real estate investors for life, actually, for next 10 years. If you can get a hang on it and figure it out exactly what is happening with us. So here is another scenario, frustrations. Majority of the Canadians in the mid-30s, they're saying we're going to be slave for the rest of our life, paying the mortgages. How are we going to handle that? And some of them were going to leave the dream for ownership and going to remain a tenant for you as an investor or otherwise, but it is painful to see in Canada that was not the case. So what was the real case? Here's a scenario. Canada don't have enough skilled labor to build houses. And there has been priority. Now you're going to see this type of things in typically election issues, talking about real estate, gas prices, carbon, taxes, and again, skills. That's very unfortunate. But again, those who are looking into positions or jobs, that might be industry to get into it than anything else, though. And this is another sad part of it. When we go to school, they don't really teach you super high income skills. They don't teach you how to have income producing assets. My question to you is this one. Do you have a income producing asset which allows you to leave your job full time and live comfortably? Or can you start building one? It's very easy to start building income producing assets. And they provide you tax shelter, you name it. Again, wealthy become wealthy for a good reason because they learn something differently. The liability of the middle class become the assets of what? Rich. All those people who are complaining about it, they can't afford the house, whatever. Now what's going to happen? They are going to be renting one of your assets. Painfully truth, but that's the truth. Unfortunately, we can't do. So today we're going to just discuss about what's going to happen tomorrow. Are we expecting Bank of Canada to do what with the rates? Majority of Canadians have feeling that they will not. but I'm going to ask our experts here. I'm going to start with Randy. Randy, what do you think of it?
Hi, everybody. I have a feeling they're not going to change anything tomorrow. It's a little too early.
Why is that, in your opinion?
Part of my presentation.
Okay, all right. Like that, excellent. All right, Jerry, what do you think of it?
Hey, can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear, my friend.
Okay, awesome. Good. I'm driving. Well, I don't think much is gonna happen tomorrow. I'll be honest. I think it's gonna be June, until we really see something. I hope I'm wrong. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm wrong. I don't mind being wrong in times like this, but I just see, inflation creeped up a little bit. And I think I think they're all preparing. I think those in the know are preparing us for a June decrease. So my vote is that nothing much happens tomorrow, but I hope I'm wrong.
All right, thank you, Jerry. Leonard?
I don't think anything will happen until September because of the power with what's US doing. So let's see what's going to happen.
Well, I have a bunch of David, are you there? David Grossman? I think not. Jyoti, I think she's trying to log in. Vladimir, if you can please help her out. Did anybody have a difficulty logging in today? Oh, only you. Okay, sorry. All right, now she may gonna join us from cell phone. All right, that's fine. Thanks. Well, here is my input from you from what I think of it. This is what I picked it up from the media. Most of you have said there's not much going to happen. The first cut we are thinking we're definitely gonna see it on June 5th, and there are going to be two more cuts. Simply, you can say that there are certain things which are kind of control, but they are overdoing it right now. Right now, whatever the interest we have, in my opinion, it is overkill. The data is not suggesting to keep this inflation that high, though. But there are some issues which could be relating to number one, what is happening with across the border on the south side in US. The elections are coming up, and again, their politics is going to be a little bit messy up there. On the other hand, bank tomorrow, something is going to be said in a very clear, precise manner in the language. And the language is going to be, hey, listen, we all are struggling with it. And the relief is its own way. Indirectly, they have mentioned to us they are going to have a reduction at least 3 times this year. So each time it might be 0.25% or more, but we shall see. Again, anybody else have an opinion, you're welcome to share with us today. Anybody else like to share their opinion? All right. Perhaps not. That's fine. Lester, are you there, sir? Lester? Perhaps not. All right, no problem. All right. So here is a scenario, what is happening in Canada, how many jobs we are losing. In US, it's totally different ballgame. They are creating a lot more jobs compared to Canada, and their economy is not slowing down. And in my opinion, it is going to have some ripple effect. But again, this is how it works. This is what it is. These are the information from Stat Canada. Just thought I should share with you. Are people losing money in Canada? Yes, they still do. Those people who bought the properties at the peak. This is another piece of property on 47 Grand Velour in Vaughan. It was sold for 4.2 million. Now recently got sold on this month, which is 5-6 days ago on April 3rd. It sold for 3.4. The owner might have lost $860,000 plus all the commissions, insurance, taxes, whatever. So indirectly, the market is still giving us a bit of a hint that There are certain properties which are moving, but not everything is going smoothly as we think. When I want to make a statement, I like to share the facts, the rest, and all the information together with you so that you guys can relate to it. So here is something else. What can you buy in Toronto for 2.6 million? Not much of a house. If you go across the border, and there's a town called Rochester, and this castle was built with the 60 tons of steel. 60 tons of steel cost $10 million. Now you can buy it for 2.3. Totally different ball game altogether. Just thought I'd just share with you some of the information we collect. Our staff collects it from different sources. Just thought I should share with you. Here is another one, by the way. What can you buy for 1.6 million? You can buy a 2-bedroom house in Toronto for sure. On the other hand, you can buy a 12-acre of land in New Brunswick, beautiful property up there for that kind of price. Now, why is that? What's happening with New Brunswick? What's happening in Toronto? Why Toronto is booming? Well, our industry is totally have changed. Knowledge-based economy is the name of the game. Canada has been known from day one as a natural resources, the mines, and so on. Now it is shifting quite a bit. So we have a lot more people in IT industry. Artificial intelligence is going to be kicking us in different way. It's going to have a lot of surprises for us, especially in the real estate industry. Some of you might be utilizing it already. I use it very little, don't know much about it. We even hired a consultant, and he said, Uncle, just wait. It's a little too early for you guys to do. So here is the scenario. Why Toronto's booming. We have more construction cranes than anywhere else in North America. Number one is Toronto, and the number two is LA, which is 1/4 of it. Only 1/4. If you look at Calgary market, which is also booming as we speak, there are only 20 cranes up there. But again, just thought I should let you know that City of Toronto economy is still pretty strong. And this is going to remain fairly strong as we go along, though. Moving forward, sales, what is happening with it? What exactly is going to happen? If you look at it, there are certain changes, by the way, and these changes represent Calgary's red hot market. Why everybody is rushing into Calgary? Cheap homes, affordable housing. What will be the next campaign, next place? Edmonton, St. John's, both St. John's, possibly Regina, Saskatchewan. People can, wherever they can find, and I am sure Winnipeg, Brandon is also on the list. A lot of investors are moving into Calgary. Please forgive me for saying that, but I have to say it. A lot of speculators are going in, hoping to make a big buck. But hey, listen, if you don't understand the Canadian flipping taxes laws, you're gonna get caught, and you may gonna end up making practically not much, or maybe end up losing some money. What's happening in Calgary real estate market? In my opinion, it will remain pretty hot for a while to come. There's an issue with the supply. There's huge demand. I'll be sharing some information with you as we go along, though. Jyoti, are you here, my friend? Jyoti. Well, Jyoti is our attorney, by the way, a lawyer. Not sure if she's here or she's not able to log in, but she is the lawyer. She has a degree from India. She has a degree from UK as well as Canada. And once we get her on the line, she had difficulty logging in today. Not sure why, because we are utilizing more or less the same information as last time, but I do believe there could be a glitches in the system, though. Well, we're going to move forward. So what else is happening? A lot of properties in Canada, especially developers, builders, are going under foreclosures. So let's discuss in Vancouver West. Now, this is on Robson Street. This is one of the hottest area, just like Yonge Street in Toronto. And this piece of property is sold under a court order. And the same thing happening on other two projects in Vancouver. Kilbourne Building is also going through a debt. And same thing, we are looking at Horizon 21. These three are foreclosure going to be sharing a bunch of other foreclosure properties. These are developers. And now it shows more or less what exactly is happening. You don't see it. This is the telltale signs. Facts speak much louder than anything else, though. So what exactly is the problem? What's the red tape in Canada? Now, if you want to build something, you have to wait 3 to 5 years. A lot of bureaucrat delays, development prohibition, taxes, paperwork, municipal fees, zoning restructure. Now, all these governments do the top, but when it comes to delivering something, well, that's a different ballgame. Unfortunately, we're dealing with it, but hey, what can we do? This is what it is, that's what it is. But it allows investors to look into the market, and you can more or less utilize your creative strategies as you feel it's fit for you. So here is the really sad part. As you are investors, you might want to kind of know how bad is a rental market in Canada. How bad is bad? A small studio apartment renting for $4,000 a month. They're renting bed by bed. Bed by bed, $1,000 per bed. Is it legal? Are they exploiting those poor people? In my opinion, yes. Sad but truth. But on the other hand, some of these people may not have any choice. Very unfortunate. That's not Canada is all about, but there are some situations, I would say, more than anything else, though. So where are all these people coming in? Where are they going to live? Where are they going to move to? Now, the basement apartments have gone over 5,000%. People say, okay, maybe that's the better way. This is the better way to make some extra money or make the mortgage payments. And it's about 1,000% last 5 years. Now, this is not every property listed in Canada, but these are the few figures we just thought I would share with you. So what I'm saying very simply, the rental market will remain pretty hot for the next 10, 15 years. You might be able to get top dollar for the rent, but at the same time, there's a huge need for it. And if you are able to provide accommodation, rental properties, hey, this could be something where you, in my opinion, you will make a good fortune. This is the sad part, which is a fact that more Canadians have more debt and they keep collecting more debt, line of credits, HELOCs, whatever it is, they're stretching. Eventually, that balloon gonna burst. Right now, as we speak, the number of people who are behind mortgage payments, credit card payments are increasing day by day. So are the business bankruptcies. We just got some information. Pretty sad, but truth. What can we do? So this is your part of the debt as a fellow Canadian. Do you owe some money? Yes. How much money are you going to be paying every year? We are not talking about simply the debt. We're talking about interest only. And these are the interest costs which are going to come out of your dollar bill. And next time when you're speaking to a politician, hey, remind them, hey, listen, what's going on? We know we got into the pickle, but we need to get out of it. Now, here is a scenario about investors. Some of these investors, I will call them as speculators. They're in only to make a buck and want to walk away from it. They are quite familiar with losing money because they invest most of the time. They invest money and they don't mind losing money. Very unfortunate, but that's how it works. All across Canada, you'll find that people who already own one house, now they want to own a second or third piece of property because they feel some of them or simply speculating is no part of it. Some are for long-term investment. If you're in for long-term investment, there's certain basics and fundamentals. If you stay away from it, you're gonna get yourself in big trouble. So here is the bunch of red flags. How many Canadians have to renew their mortgages? You're gonna be just gonna be sharing with David Grossman. Pretty soon he's gonna join us. He said by 8 or maybe earlier. So number of Canadians, all of a sudden, they just imagine their mortgage payment is gonna be 1.5, 2 times than what they are. And now a lot of Canadians saying they're only $200 away from bankruptcy. And things are not getting cheaper. Look at the gas price, inflation, food, the basic necessities are pretty expensive. And some of these companies have monopoly, whether it's a food or whether it's an internet service or cell phones. And directly or indirectly, we are paying for it. But this 2025, 26, this is going to create some opportunities for us, but it's going to create a lot of problems for a lot of Canadians. In my opinion, for next 3 years, 2026 is going to be the peak time, even though they decrease the mortgage rates even by 1.5%, 2%, still a lot of Canadians are going to become a victim of high interest rate. So anybody coming across a situation where they're facing foreclosure, please feel free to give my name and number to them. We'll be happy to pay you some money if we do get the deal done. So before I bring my sister or my half sister, just to let you know, she is 12 times, not once, no, 11 times. I'm sorry. We're going to be 12 soon. International best-selling author, publisher. And she's a top-notch realtor in Toronto. Her name is Randy Goodman. Randy, are you there, my friend?
Yes, thank you so much.
All
My
yours.
brother.
All right.
Always so proud to be able to call you my brother.
Excellent.
Well, thank you for having me. And so first, I want to mention about the interest rate. So Bank of Canada worries that a rate cut now would overheat the spring housing market. So as it heats up, the central bank leaves interest rates at 5%, which we discussed already, saying it's still too soon for rate cuts. There will be a decision tomorrow, as we know, and we're all guessing, or some of us are guessing, that nothing will change. Lower mortgage rates could fuel higher Canadian home prices, though. Inflationary pressures, mainly driven by consumer spending, housing and labor markets, and immigration, currently influence Canada's interest rate the most. The Bank of Canada, alongside other major central banks, sets a target inflation rate of 2% as a benchmark for price stability. And these current changes in interest rates by the Bank of Canada can impact borrowing costs, spending, and economic activity, which in turn can affect the level of inflation in the country. Higher interest rates made it challenging for builders and developers to get financing. This immediately slowed the construction of smaller buildings such as single detached homes. We expect interest rate increases to slow apartment starts in 2024. The increased level of apartment starts in 2023 was likely the result of financing secured before interest rates began to rise. Demand will return and growth in sales and prices will increase as inflation and interest rates decrease. With the weakness in housing supply, affordability challenges will continue. These challenges will be most evident in the rental sector. So we're expecting weak economic growth in 2024. We're projecting a momentum regain in 2025 and 2026 as interest rates decrease. Assumptions, obviously. We're expecting lower housing starts in 2024. There is a slight improvement forecasted over the next 2 years. Supply chain challenges, notably the lagged effects of higher interest rates, mean that new construction in 2025 and 2026 won't reach the 2021 to 2023 levels. The forecasting demand to push MLS prices beyond previous peak levels. This indicates a lack of short-term affordability improvement. We're seeing an increase in MLS sales due to a strong population growth. Sales are expected to surpass the past 10-year average levels, but remain below the record levels of 2020 and 2021. This is reflective of decreased housing affordability. Despite more rental completions, growing demand for rental homes will not be met because the cost of home ownership will lead households to stay in rental housing. Rents will rise and vacancy rates will fall. Moving on to amortization and how it's gone from 25 years, which was the norm, to now 30, 35, even 40 years. So by extending the amortization period beyond the standard 25 or 30 years, the bank seeks to lower monthly payment obligations, making home ownership or investment in properties more accessible amidst the current economic and affordability challenges. Although exact pricing was not yet available, rates are expected in the 9% range, given that this is an uninsured alternative lending product with an extended amortization and potential higher risks. The product is being introduced at least partially in response to affordability concerns exacerbated by high prices and the rising cost of living. Longer amortization periods will result in lower payments. However, when a homeowner takes longer to pay off their mortgage, they will pay much more interest. Those who have variable mortgage rates but are on fixed payment schedules, meaning their monthly payment doesn't change along with the Bank of Canada's rate, have had less of that payment go towards actually paying off their mortgage, with more going towards paying interest. This point at which none of the payment goes towards principal is called the trigger rate, and the vast majority of pandemic-era borrowers have it. Extending the mortgage amortization immediately takes some of the pressure off borrowers as spreading payments out over a long period of time can lower them back into a manageable range. These extra long amortizations are becoming a notable presence in banks' mortgage portfolios. According to recent regulatory financial disclosures from Canada's biggest lenders, the number of clients with amortizations over 30 years or even exceeding 40 years has skyrocketed. For example, at CIBC, they make up 30% of the books. RBC reported 25%, and at BMO, 32%. It's quite large. So while increasing amortization is one way to cope with higher interest rate hikes in the short term, it's not without risk. Extended amortizations will lead to a greater persistence of outstanding balances and greater risk of loss to lenders. But getting a lengthier amortization will cost you, as you'll be paying more mortgage interest over a longer period of time, thousands of dollars. So longer amortization periods leave some mortgage holders stuck and unable to get ahead financially. Delays in paying off your mortgage could cost tens of thousands, impact savings and retirement. And that's my feedback for today.
Anybody have any questions for Randy Goodman? Please go ahead. Any questions? Well, thank you, Randy. Are you gonna be staying in for a while?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Once again, thank you, Randy. Once again, Randy is the 11-time international best speakers. 11 times she have written the top-notch books, international best-selling author, publisher, and we have done some events together across Canada, once or twice in Calgary. We have known each other for many, many years. She's one of the top-notch realtor. Anytime you have a need for realtor, especially GTA, you're looking for income-producing assets, she is one of the top-notch person you must consult before you buying or selling it or whatever. And she can be one of the best person to go to. Thanks, Randy. Appreciate that, my friend. Now we're going to talk into about what is
Yeah.
happening this year. Most of you may or may not be aware, Bank of Canada only meet 8 times a year. These are the dates. Now, on certain dates, they do certain things differently. On April 10th, they're going to be talking about monetary policy report. On June 5th, that will be interest rate announcement. And most of us do believe June 5th might be the day where the bank may gonna decrease interest rate by 0.25%. But let's keep our finger crossed. As they said, they're gonna they may gonna reduce the pay interest at least 3 times this year. So here is something else where a lot of Canadians are facing. Can the Canadian taxman can sell your home just to collect the unpaid taxes under the IT Act, which is Section 24 to 25, it gives them ability. But again, this is not normal. What CRA like to do, which is a lot of Canadians are facing as we speak. As the interest rate went up, the bank took a role. Hey, listen, why don't we extend your amortization from 25, and some Canadians even have up to 65 to 90-year amortization. Painfully truth. But here is scenario from CRA. CRA would, if in case you default, they only come after, majority of the time they come after when you have business, so you don't pay HST, you don't pay other taxes. They can garnish your wages, freeze your bank account, and a lot more. But there are some scenarios at extreme where they can seize your principal residence. So be aware, if you never take it granted, your share of the taxes must be paid. Now, there are a couple of things. You have to communicate properly, negotiate the payments, seek professional advice, and we have certain people who can definitely help you in that scenario. So here is the sad part. All the work you're going to do this year, all the work, all the money you're going to earn till June 19th this year, you're not going to take a single penny home. Where this money is going? All the taxes. That's Tax Freedom Day. For last 13 years, here's the numbers. It happened between June, mostly in June, or sometimes it happened in May. And this year, I do believe it will happen in June. That every single penny you're going to be earning going to the tax man. So become very knowledgeable about your taxes. The day you're born, the day you leave this planet, you are subject to paying taxes. That's tax man have, you're going to pay half of your money what you earn. So here is something disturbing. We live in Canada, 10 different provinces, 3 territories, then we have a US 50 states. Who is paying the most taxes when you earn only $50,000? If you look at Canada, when we look at Quebec, and people say, oh, Quebec is, no. Look at the taxes they pay, 31.53%. The second comes to Nova Scotia, our Maritimers. Alberta and BC still have cheaper compared to Alberta, but Ontario still pay about 25%. If you look at it, an average American will pay about 12%, except Michigan. Next time you're talking to a politician, hey, you need my votes? Let's talk about taxes. You know what? You're taking half my paycheck. Every time I make money, you want half of it. Let's discuss that. No, unless we bring this thing in the surface, we are paying a lot of money. I'm going to leave it that way. So this is how much you pay. You pay more money toward the taxman when you earn compared to your own household goods, your housing, your clothing, your food. It seems like you're working full time for the tax man. Having said that, you pay tax on top of taxes, taxes and taxes. And in case you know that some people who are doing crooked business, hey, part of you should be able to report it. But again, something else. And if you are making any kind of money on the side, Airbnb, Canada Stay, Flip a Key, VRBO, whatever, it must be disclosed. This is the year, April 30th is coming, we have to all file the taxes. Now, here is something happening with our politicians. What happened if you're making more than 90,000 bucks? Or if you're making less than, if you're making $140,000 with a family of two, which is pretty normal. So you don't get, if you're making about $90,000, what benefits you get, what you do not get. If you're making over $140,000, you are paying for everything compared to if you're only making $90,000. Guess what? Child benefits, Canada Dental Plan, workers' benefits, and so on. Just to make you aware, there are certain numbers. You should be aware of it. And now, to enlighten all this, we're going to have one of the top-notch person, in my opinion, who's one of a kind CPA, who is licensed in 5 different and separate regulated investment marketplaces. He himself is a full-time, he's also a investor, invests just like you do. And he is going to enlighten us, not sure exactly, because we talked about Bear Trust, now that has been put on hold. Jerry, are you there, my friend?
I am. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. You have parked your
Yes.
car, or are you in your office now?
I'm out of my car and I'm up at my cottage right now.
Excellent. All
Working
right.
away. So
All right. It's all yours, my friend.
All right, thank you. Geez, Nav, it's always depressing when someone talks about the tax freedom day and that we're working right up till whatever that date is for nothing to give all our money away. So yeah, certainly a hot topic always about the tax rates in Canada. But on a good note, I just want to remind everybody that the corporate tax rate is 12%. And I think most of you probably know that, 12.2%. And I know in my world of tax planning, that is an extremely important tax rate that we utilize for clients, paying. Listen, we live in a country where they're wanting to take up to 55% of our income. And then after we have paid our tax, they want us to pay 13% on top of everything we consume. And it's just getting crazier and worse. So proper tax planning is extremely important. And if anybody has the ability, the whole key, or not the whole key, but one of the keys is having the ability to channel your income into a corporation so we can utilize that 12% tax rate. As we probably know, the income that we earn personally is just going to land on our tax return, and we have different marginal tax brackets. And if we're certainly earning decent income, we're up to that 55% bracket. Also, something to think about is what I call the characterization of income. And what I mean by that is we earn income. Can we change the characteristics of that income? When we earn that income personally, we're very restricted. And when we earn that income through a corporation, there's different ways that we can take that money out of the corporation. And that's a lot of tax planning that we can do. We can take it out as a dividend. We can take it out as a wage, a salary, a bonus, a fee. We can take it out as a repayment of shareholders' loan. We can take it out as a tax-free taxable benefit or allowance, I should say. So that's what I call characterization of income. And there's a lot of benefits. Basically, when we do have the ability to channel income through a corporation, The toolkit that we have as tax accountants is quite significant compared to if we're not having that ability to channel income through a corporation. And not only does it help us lower our taxes, there's just so many other tax planning benefits if we can channel our income through a corp that leads into our retirement planning, our financial planning, our estate planning too. Lots of benefits from an estate planning perspective. And I think you wanted me to touch on what we call passive income. So the thing that people need to realize is when we're dealing with a corporation in simple terms has two types of income: passive income, active income. The active income is where we can tax plan around that. That's our benefit. That's our golden nugget. Active income is tax paid at 12.2%. That's a good thing. Passive income is taxed at 50%, 50%. That is not a good thing. We're all real estate investors. Where does that passive income impact us in our real estate lives, our financial lives? In simple terms, if we channel mortgage interest, if we lend out money as mortgage interest and we receive mortgage interest into our corporation, that mortgage interest is considered passive income. That's not good from a tax perspective. The other thing that a lot of the real estate investors get, will get impacted with passive income is what we call net rent income. So we're all real estate investors. We all understand that a real estate property generates rental income. We get to deduct the expenses from it, and what's left is what we call net rent income. That net rent income has to hit a tax return. If the building is owned by a person, then that net rent income is going to hit the personal tax return. And that can be good or bad, depending on what the personal's marginal tax bracket is. If the corporation owns the building and generates net rent income, that net rent income is what we call passive income. We're paying 50%, 50% on that net rent income. That's not good. So we always try to utilize what we call a real estate management company. Management income is active income. That's taxed at 12%. So if we have what I call a net rent income problem, which means we have net rent income, first step is we want to make sure we reduce that net rent income as much as we can within the parameters of the Tax Act. And then if we still have a net rent income problem, we want to reduce that net rent income. And one way to do it is to create yourself a management corporation that manages that building, so we can take some of that net rent income within reasonable measures and move it into a management corp that becomes active income. Okay, so again, characteristics of income. When we have net rent income, that's passive income. When we have rental management income, that's active income taxed at 12%. So as you can see, there's some tax planning opportunities there. So that's important. Nav, you touched on that Bear Trust thing. My God, this I don't want to show my political colors, but
it's a lot of mess, my friend, unfortunately.
We as a CPA organization, we are extremely angry with what's going on, because this is strike three. The first time was the UHT, the underused housing tax, which is different than what this Bear Trust stuff is. So they introduced it basically a year ago, and they told us as accountants we had to file all these UHT forms by April 30th. That wasn't necessarily the problem. The bigger problem was there were so many questions without answers as far as who has to file, who is this applicable to. It was a mess, and it was such a mess that by April 30th last year, they just said, okay, you know what? Don't worry about filing it by April 30th. Let's figure this out by October 31st of 2023, and that's your new deadline. Well, not much changed as far as the mess that was created with this UHT. And once again, when October 31st came, we as accountants had spent a lot of time and resources preparing for this filing. And it was about 9 o'clock at night on October 31st that the government once again threw their hands up and said, forget it, don't even bother filing this stuff by midnight tonight. And we were just living. So now the new deadline for that UHT is April 30th, 2024. Let's just see what happens. There are still many questions that do not have answers as far as who is it applicable to. So who knows what happens with that. That's not even the Bear Trust thing. The Bear Trust thing is a different thing. And it had basically you're getting caught if a Bear Trust agreement is basically where you own the property in your personal name. And a lot of times that has had to happen simply for you to qualify for the mortgage. But we want that asset shown in the corporation. So we create what's called the Bear Trust agreement. And once again, prior to that, we really didn't have to file Bear Trust returns only if there was income. So if there was no income, we really didn't have to file. Out comes the government. They want to know all about this. They wanted us to file all these Bear Trust T3s. That's a trust return. And that deadline was March 31st. And once again, we put a lot of time, effort, and resources into making sure our clients complied. And once again, right at the midnight hour, the government says, you know what, forget it. There's too much confusion. Don't even bother filing these things. So we're very disgusted with what's going on. I don't think people quite realize what goes on in our lives as public accountants when we're in February, March, and April. It's nuts. And to throw all this stuff on top of what we're going through already is not fair, and we're very angry, but there's not much we can do. So anyway, the good news is those of you with Bear Trust, don't worry about it. Those of you that apply with the UHT, the underused housing tax, I don't want to get into a deep, long conversation about it. If you own a rental property in a corporation, you must file a UHT filing. If it's personal, the easy way to think about it is if the ownership of that property or the beneficial ownership of that property does not match what's shown on the land registry office, then you got to file this UHT. So those are some questions. Feel free to reach out on specific terms. It's a dog's breakfast, but I think we finally have it figured out. So we can probably answer most of your questions. Probably not all of them, but most of them. So I'll leave it at that. Now, thanks
All right,
again.
Jerry, where does the dog's breakfast came from?
Yeah, geez. Anyway, but it's all good. I thank you for inviting me, and so far it's been some great information. I always love
Excellent.
listening to Randy chat away. So anyway, thank you.
You're gonna be online for a while?
Yep, I'm gonna be around.
Perfect. Thank you. Now we're gonna bring our guest speaker as well. We missed her. Jyoti Chaudhary, is she here now? Jyoti, are you here, my friend?
Yes, I'm here.
So we got the thing for you.
Thank you, Navkaj. I'm sorry.
Are you able to see the screen?
Signing in.
Are you able to share the screen? See the screen now?
Yes, I am able to see.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you so much. And today I'm going to be speaking about a topic which is very different from all the topics you've heard so far. It is neither about mortgage rates, nor about prices of properties, nor about taxes. I'm going to be talking about a problem that homeowners may face, and it may seem small when you just read about it, but when you're faced with it, it becomes a huge issue for you. And these are problems which homeowners do not anticipate when they purchase a home. What I'm talking about is disputes about boundary lines. I'm sure you've watched all the ID series where you have your neighbor coming from hell and things like that. And it's the most miserable feeling to be, at war with your neighbor. But it happens at times when you have conflicting interests. And normally when a house is purchased from the builder, a survey is provided. That's the norm. But if you're buying residential resale properties, survey is not normally provided. Very few times there is a survey available. And so you really don't know what the boundary limits are. And although the survey may have been provided initially by the builder, somehow down the line, it got lost. And, if you ask the previous lawyer or the previous owner, he will say he didn't have it. So getting a survey made is an expensive job. And if it is not there, then you have this issue about boundaries. So in this kind of a situation, you have an act called the Line Fences Act. And I'll let you know about the topics for which this act applies and what you can do to resolve a situation of a boundary dispute. So it's a boundary dispute is basically a dispute between the owners of adjoining properties with a fence on a boundary line. The Line Fences Act provides a dispute resolution procedure between the owners of adjoining properties in most of Ontario. Line fences are fences that mark the boundary between properties and are often referred to as boundary or division fences. But an important thing to note is that the Act does not deal with disputes about fences that are not on a boundary line. So if there's a fence, but it's not on the boundary line, this Act is not going to deal with it. And the arbitration of fencing disputes is the responsibility of the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs in Ontario's unorganized territories. So let me tell you when the Act applies. The arbitration procedure under the Act only applies in two situations where the owners are unable to reach an agreement. The first scenario is where no fence currently exists at the boundary between the two properties, and one owner wants a new fence to be constructed to mark the boundary. And the second scenario is where a line fence already exists, and one owner believes that it needs to be reconstructed or repaired. So it's talking about two separate scenarios. In one scenario, there's a fence which exists at the boundary line between the two properties, and one owner really wants a new fence to be constructed. And the other scenario is a similar one, but the one owner wants it to be reconstructed or repaired. In such cases, an owner can ask that a municipality assign fence viewers to resolve the dispute and issue a decision, also known as an award. A fence viewer is appointed by the municipality and who is someone with broad knowledge of the community. 3 fence viewers are required to be present at a viewing, and they're only authorized to address one or both of the following issues: the apportionment of responsibility for the fencing work between the two adjoining owners, and the second is the description of the fence that is to be constructed or reconstructed on the boundary line, including the materials to be used. So basically, these fence viewers are only working out like the cost or the responsibility issue between the two owners. And with the 3 fence viewers trying to resolve the dispute and issuing a decision known as an award, they allocate the cost of the proceedings between the two owners. Now, here is the catch: when the Act does not apply, the arbitration procedure is only applicable if one owner, on their own initiative, has constructed a new line fence or has reconstructed, repaired an entire existing line fence, and then wants to use the arbitration procedure to force the adjoining owner to pay part of the cost of the completed work. So if the work has already been done by one of the owners, and then that owner goes back to the arbitration procedure, that's not going to help him, because he's already done the work, and they are not going to force the other owner to pay a part of the cost of the completed work. And the other catch about this Act is the arbitration procedure only deals with disputes about fences. It does not determine the location of the boundary line between adjoining properties. So if there's a dispute between the boundary line between two houses, this Act is not going to deal with that. then again, you have to go to a surveyor and get a survey or get it from the previous seller or wherever you can get it done. I think roughly the cost for getting a new survey made would runs between $3,000 to $5,000. So that's a big expense. Or what you can do is boundary line disputes must be resolved by the owners themselves. Municipalities and the fence viewers have no jurisdiction to deal with boundary issues. So if you're having an issue with your neighbor, where the boundary line is, because he's suddenly encroached on your property, this act is not going to help in that situation. Then it is best to resolve it between yourselves or get a survey made, in which case you have some standing and some proof to provide as to where your fence should be. And property owners involved in a boundary dispute often approach the municipality in the hope that the matter can be resolved without the need for them to obtain legal advice and a survey. But that's not what is happening. However, a municipal council has the authority to pass a bylaw to exempt all or part of a municipality from the act and instead pass a bylaw assigning the cost of line fences between owners. So if that is the case, then you can contact a local municipality to find out if such a bylaw exists. Then you have informal resolutions of disputes. So normally what happens is they approach the local municipality about line fence matters. However, they are usually able to reach agreement with the neighbor without the need for a formal viewing. An informal discussion between a municipal staff member or the adjoining owners can often help to resolve a dispute, especially where the owners are not on good terms. In addition, normally they become more willing to resolve the disputes themselves once they're made aware that they will be required to pay for a viewing and its related costs. So if two neighbors are not in agreement about where the boundary line is, and they're made aware that they will have to pay for the viewing and the cost, then they're more willing to resolve that dispute. And there are various forms which you will need to fill up if you want to access the facilities of this act and get an arbitration procedure in place. There's a form, there's a request for fence viewers, and there's a clerk's notice to parties for the dispute, and so on and so forth. And of course, there is an award where they resolve the dispute or they try to resolve and they pass an award apportioning costs to the respective parties. So I hope this discussion is helpful. It can become a problem anytime you own a house and you have a neighbor, even if your current neighbor is really good, there may be instances where he sells the property, moves on, and new neighbor will not be so good. I do have a client who bought a house in 2018. He had a good neighbor until 2022, when the old neighbor decided to sell his house and the new neighbor moved in 2022. In 2023, he broke the fence, a 50-year-old fence, and said, oh, that was a mistake. And now he wants to say, okay, the boundary line is like 4 feet into your property line. So that's a real scenario for you. You've got to be prepared. And then if that is the situation, you've got to take your, a balanced view and know your options and get a survey made if required. That's my thought. Those are my thoughts on this topic. I hope that has been helpful. I hope you never need it though, but if you do.
All right. Thank you, Jyoti. She brings 2 topics. Number 1 is called squatters' right. Squatters. Squatters are those people who can forcefully take over your property, occupy it for 7.5 years, and the ownership used to change to the person who's occupying the property. But now those laws have changed dramatically because now we have different system altogether in Canada but just thought I should let you know there's something called squatters' right. What she's talking about today is the very critical topic, the boundary of the property. We had issues like that before, and we had to be very careful that, hey, listen, these type of things are important. It's very important to have a real estate lawyer. There are two ways of hiring a lawyer. Number one, before it's much cheaper. When you hire the lawyer, after the problem begins, now it is very expensive, time consuming. You could be in for 3 to 20 years, or God knows for how long. So, highest recommendation to fellow investors, please do not sign any contract without the approval of your lawyer. We all good with that? Jyoti, thank you very much, my friend. Really appreciate your presence and sharing your wisdom.
You're very-
Sincerely appreciate that. Thank you.
you're
So
welcome.
now we're gonna move into David Grossman. Are you here yet? Or maybe not yet? David, are you there, sir? He said he will be here at 8. Maybe not. All right, so we're gonna move into the other stuff as we speak into it. Ah, boy. We'll cover it when he comes in. So let's talk about what's happening. So liberals, elections are coming up, and they're gonna play some stuff with us. And just to let you know, there's a conversation about turning, if you put only less than 20% down payment. Right now, as we speak, if you put less than 20% down payment, the amortization period is only 25 years. They're thinking about changing it to 30 years. Let me just give you a little history lesson. Until 2008, we used to have a 40-year amortization. Now they changed after 2012, by the way. This is the lesson. So what happened? The people have a lot longer period of time to pay that thing. The reason people want to do extend the amortization so that it can reflect on their mortgage payment, they can afford the property, they can have a bit of a life instead of simply working hard, paying taxes and paying the mortgages. And, you know, this is something which we will see. So on April 16th, I wouldn't be surprised if the Liberal government, the current government of administration, changed the amortization to 30 years, even up to go as 40 years. We never know, but because it was done before, it can be done again. Again, these are the bureaucrats, the politicians who are going to create these top things for us. Now, moving forward, so what is happening? What the CMHC is saying? What is about pent-up demand, a higher interest rate, all those so-called potential buyers waiting on the fence and hoping, okay, when the interest rate drop, we will jump in. How about the supply? So now there is a mixed bag of opinions. Canada Mortgage Housing Corporation have something else to say compared to when we speak to our fellow economists, fellow realtors, or other professionals in the field. But there's going to be definitely a humongous gain in property values up to 2026. It won't be as crazy as what we have seen in 2020 to 2022, but there's something gonna be there for us because of the supply. And the government is going to do put a lot of effort into it to create a lot more affordable housing. But again, Canadians do not want to rent it, they prefer to own it. But as we said, that there's going to be a small amount of boom to 2026, but at the same time, there's a scenario where a lot of fellow Canadians have to renew their mortgages, and they may not be in a really good shape, or they may not have financially safe to do so. So here is some scenarios where the CRA might be knocking on your door. So there are about top 10 areas where CRA If you do not play it right, you don't have a good CPA, you are not following the proper rules, either you make a mistake by mistake, by ignorance, or not knowing, that does not do much. Now, if you're only making $60,000 and you live in a $2 million house and driving a nice, beautiful car, it doesn't make sense. Most of you might not be aware. People say, oh, I'm self-employed, only make 30, 40,000 bucks. But I live in a house where the property taxes are 15,000. My kids go to private school. Hello, red flags. If you're doing flipping, not knowingly how to do it properly, you're doing assignments, pre-constructions, your number is up. If you did not report the capital gain, your number is up. Capital gain anywhere as a non-resident, worldwide income, GST, HST. You did not claim, improper claim of a GST, HST, classify yourself as a land developer or not a land developer. And principal residence exemption, a lot of Canadians do that. Please don't do that. You're going to get caught. And if your status is a realtor, be aware of it. These are the top red flags. Jerry, you want to have any opinion on this one? Jerry, okay, maybe not. All right. Preoccupied. All right. So there is some of the other areas where CRA is really focused on. The chances are you will be audited. What are the reasons? You're renovating your home. When you need to sell, when you are doing something, and you have intent to buy or sell a family home, there are certain red flags. Be aware of it because you do not want to be audited if possible. So Canadian economy, inflation, high interest rate, food prices, gas prices, you name it after this. Now, what happened to our standard of living is declining. And people have spoken, people are speaking. There are hardcore facts. Unfortunately, it's there, but it's there. So detached house properties in Toronto, which areas you can buy it, which are more expensive compared to a lot more cheaper. Again, if you notice that east and west is the cheaper, central core, downtown core is always expensive, but there are 3 cores in East York, Leslieville, and almost east of Don Valley. There are some pockets, in my opinion, that would be the greatest area to invest in Toronto if you decided to do so. Is the Canadian real estate market is balanced? Well, depends exactly who you speak to. But on the other hand, when we look at it, there's only one market where I still believe is seller's market, that is Calgary. Even though Vancouver has picked up, Toronto has picked up, Edmonton has picked up, some parts of Montreal has picked up, but comparatively, these are the numbers. But I still believe the market is still a buyer's market. What is happening? People are looking at the headlines, but they don't realize it. There is a city called Windsor. There's a city called Brantford, Ottawa, Cambridge, Bruce Grey, Sudbury, and Brampton and Bancroft. They might be doing better when it comes to appreciation. And just like it's like a rat race. It's like herd is approaching, going to Alberta, Calgary. Be aware of it, but I'm going to also share the facts with Calgary, by the way, as well, as we speak. So here is the Calgary market. If you are going to be investing in Calgary, some of you have already done it. Keith, are you there? Keith Martin? Keith, are you there, sir?
Yes, I'm here now.
Okay, how is your condo doing in Calgary? What we bought at bargain prices?
It's doing well. The tenant that I have in it is the one that I've had in it since I bought it. And unfortunately, the builder's rebate is over, so.
Okay, but what was the cash flow before this rebate?
About $1,900 a month.
Isn't it a good return on the money?
Pardon?
Isn't it a great return on your money, though?
Yes, it is.
How much money did you invested in one of those condos approximately?
About 75,000.
And for $75,000, you approximately 2,000 a month coming in,
Yep.
and that's your 24,000.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Wasn't it a sweetheart deal?
Oh, yes.
Okay, and I'm sure the condo has gone up dramatically. Are you planning to keep it, or are you gonna be assigning it or flipping it, or
We haven't decided. If
Okay.
this tenant decides to move out, I'll look at it when that's happening.
right? And you also got the parking space as well as lockers, correct?
Yes. Parking, there was no lockers left when we were buying.
Oh, I see. Okay, all right. Well, this is the property so we acquired as a real estate investors group. We got some builders from time to time come approach us, and they were able to offer us a sweetheart deal, which some of the investors took this deal. And one of the investor is Keith Martin. How many you bought? One or two?
I bought one.
One, okay. There are other people who bought quite a few of them, and they were able to assign some of them, some later, but I'll just know is Keith, and just thought I should share with you. So the market is pretty red hot. I do believe the market is going to remain red hot for next 2 years in Calgary. If you look at the benchmark price is up by 10%, sales are up by 10%, listings are down, inventory is pretty much down by 20% or so on. So this is some hardcore facts, and make sure you are getting information. You are basing, if you're investing in real estate, based all the decision based upon the facts. It's fact driven though. So there are some homeowners which are confronted with, hey, what is happening with the market? What is happening with Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary? Yes, Calgary is the market where it's a red hot, and there's no two ways about it. When we're talking about real estate market in Calgary, be aware of it. Right now, more and more people are jumping in simply for speculation, and they're going to be in and out. It could backfire on some of them. So what's happening with the Toronto market? Well, there's still a strong demand for it. A lot of so-called first-time home buyers or people who have upgraded still on the fence, hoping that interest rate drop. Again, his scenario, catch 22. Interest rate goes down, prices goes up. Interest rate goes higher, prices go down. At the same scenario, this is Toronto, crazy market. Same thing in Vancouver. These two markets are hard to predict. Regardless, when you invest in these properties, in these markets, as long as you can sustain a positive cash flow, you are the king. All right, moving forward. This is what we deal with it. Sometimes you have professional tenants, and these tenants are from, I won't say the word, it's not a good word, and they keep adding it up. They understand the system, and they keep eating it up. Again, go back to the vetting your tenant properly. If you don't vet the tenant properly, guess what? You are going to be in trouble. Again, Mississauga, Milton, certain properties, especially the high-end properties, are moving much faster in Toronto than compared to average or lower end. There's no such thing lower end in Toronto anymore. Any little house you want to buy is about $1 million plus. But again, inventory is moving. Market have picked up, slowed down, picked up, slowed down. Good news, bad news, and this is affecting a lot of people, by the way. This is one of a kind of scenario. We talk about Court Order Enforcement Act. Also, similar act is called Civil Enforcement. When you owe money to your even child support or to somebody else, how far the courts will go, and people will appeal it at the last minute to see if they can get a break. And then there is something called lis pendent or certificate of pending litigation. So people intend to file it, and sometimes the judges will throw it back on their face. Hey, listen, your deadbeat dad, you need to pay, or your deadbeat parent, you need to pay you need to pay your dues. You have other properties, you can afford to pay it. and this was the scenario. And you will find these type of properties do come along in the market from time to time. And sometimes these properties are seized by the court orders. These properties are seized and they are forced to sell at forced market value. Not fair market value, forced market value. So can you buy a piece of property in Ontario for less than $500,000? Yes, the answer is yes. There are a few pockets in Toronto area, or Chatham, Kent. We're looking at even this is again we're talking about Ontario. Definitely some areas in Windsor, all the way to we can look at Belleville, we can look at Aurora, Caledon, and so on. Of course, there's a lot of stuff available in Northern Ontario. But again, a lot of people like to live close to the Horseshoe, which is Toronto area, where we have what 10 million, 1/4 of Canada lives here. 1/4 of Canada lives about 100-kilometer radius of Toronto. People live as far as Peterborough, 130 kilometers away. As far as London, Ontario, they come to work every day. This is the nutshell where what people have to do to afford a house to live in Canada. So here is some scenario for those of you who are new in the business. In 2004, that is about 20 years ago, you were able to buy a house for $200,000. In 2014, after 10 years, you paid $200,000 interest only. In 2024, you will be paying $200,000 interest for 5 years only. So let you figure it out what's going to happen in 2034. Would you be paying about $200,000 interest for 1 year or 2 years? We shall see. Again, history itself, again, deflation, inflation, whatever, we talk about it. I'm going to skip this one for a minute. This is a real scenario, what happened in Toronto. The market but peaked in February 2022. It has peaked all across Canada, except few markets. Be aware of it, get all the facts and information before you invest in real estate here. How long does it take to get rid of a tenant, especially in Ontario? This is very disheartening for investors. 53,000 cases outstanding. Investor, if you got a bunch of property, you got a tenant, it take up to 5 months to get rid of them. And they don't have to pay the rent. There's not much you can do. We have been asking the federal provincial government, because it's provincially regulated, to do something about it. And guess what? All the laws are made for tenants. Painfully truth, but again, some of you may not gonna like the fact, but this is the fact, unfortunately. So BC is going to come up with a new strategy. You can't flip houses there. Well, they can make the laws, and we always come up with what? Different strategies. So can we flip a house in BC? The answer is yes, we can, but we have to utilize different sort of strategy, which could be in the form of fractional ownership or JV or joint ventures. And that's important for us to know. Does anybody know if David has logged in yet or no? I don't think. David, are you there, sir? You logged in from the phone. Maybe not. All right.
I know we had an event tonight, Nav,
Yes.
but I think he was gonna try to get in at 8.
Yeah, that's what he said to me as well. Thank you. Appreciate the one in case it comes in. We're gonna continue. So here is the scenario we discussed earlier about foreclosures in BC. This is happening in everywhere. 3 Towers, Brampton, and Brampton, Toronto, where we are in trouble. And there are other properties which are quite a bit of number of properties which are in Calgary and Edmonton. Even the Edmonton market or Calgary market is hot, but there are some areas where properties are going to be on the block as a public auction. 162 properties in Calgary, 265, 203 in Edmonton, and so on. And these properties are more or less tell you the story about our current economy, or all of a sudden the interest rates have gone about 10 times, and people have to suffer. So you might heard about this terminology, you can buy a lot for $10. You're right. They have received over 10,000 calls. Where is this property? But 800 kilometers away from Toronto, Northern Ontario. The lot value is 50,000 and they're gonna give you for $10 only, provided within 2 years, you're gonna build a home on it. It's a small town, maybe less than 5,000 or 5,000 people. It's typically a mining town. And again, if you can have employment there, if you're partying there, might be good for you. But that's not the only town in Canada which is offering you $10 a lot. There are a few other towns, whether it's in Ontario, whether it's in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, or New Brunswick. These type of programs are quite common, intended to stimulate the local economy, to bring more people in the smaller towns or northern communities. As a matter of fact, some towns are even offering you come and live there, they can take care of your tuition fee up to $20,000. So that's not a bad deal if the city or the province is willing to take care of your $20,000 tuition fee to move in. And again, there are some strings attached that you must be living in that province or that particular city for at least 5 years or so on. Some lots have been offered for $1 or $10. It's just a token money. You know, it is a fact. It's just there. Anybody need to know more? Hey, feel free to get in touch with me. So here is another scenario. The difference between a regular investor and a professional investor. 1-bedroom condo. What do they rent for? $2,000, $2,500. Here's another one. It was on MLS. Just to let you know, 183 Wellington Street. This is definitely a great building, and people are willing to pay $7,500. Still a 1-bedroom. It has 24 hours concierge, valet, restaurant, bars, blah, blah, blah. But again, this is what it is. And this is the Ritz-Carlton on King West, by the way. Some of you might be familiar with it. Good to know that some of these buildings can definitely factor it. If you look at the picture very carefully, very, very carefully, it tells you why people will pay that kind of a rent. Why would people pay 3 times the rent? There's a reason for it. All right. 2/3 of Canadians who are sitting on the fence, hoping, hey, once the rate drops, we'll jump in. They postpone, they are waiting. And they're also hearing that 25 large companies in Canada are start laying off people, including some of those IT companies, some of the bankings, and so on. Yes, there is some cleaning up going on, but on the other hand, there are some super high paying jobs are also kicking in Canada. So those who are waiting in the line, again, this is the herd mentality. This is what people do in masses. As an investor, you're not part of the masses. You're a totally different ballgame altogether. Why should you be investing in GTA or Toronto? Look at last 50 years. What's the return? Compound interest is 7.5%. Is that a good incentive? Absolutely. You look at it, things happen. If you are an investor for the long term, bingo. Some of the areas you will want to hold on for next 30, 50 years and pass it on to your next generation. If you look at the figures carefully though. On the other hand, this is typical scenario for a Canadian family. They bought a piece of property in March 2020 at the boom, at the peak. Interest rate changed from $2,800 to $4,400 a month, and see how they're living. They are borrowing money to pay the bills. Canadians are borrowing money, even working full time to survive. Painfully truth, people don't talk about it. I like to share the facts and figures with you. Before you invest in anybody, check with the Ontario Security Commission or Security Commission of your province, wherever you are from. it's always a good idea to check who you're gonna invest with. Here is a good scenario. If you happen to be in the Maritimes, in the province of Nova Scotia, that Nova Scotia is willing to give you 50% of the cost of renovation or addition if you are going to create a secondary unit or backyard suite. Up to 40, it used to be 25,000. Now they have changed to $40,000. Only 48 people have applied, 25 people got the loan, and it's absolutely forgivable. There are some strings attached, by the way. These type of rebates, forgivable loan programs are all across Canada. Those who want to know where you can get the information, these are the books that we have. These are the directories for Canadian real estate, for businesses, as well as your Beacon score. Your credit score has to be extremely good. Those who want to buy the books, just text us. And before this evening is over, so is the offer. Now move to the next one. We're gonna be having possibly a eyewitness field training on this Thursday. Is still subject to availability. And those who are interested, hey, drop us a text. It's not for free. We offer nothing for free, period. Just to let you know. So our next meeting is going to be on next Tuesday. And I'm still waiting for David. David, are you here yet? If not, I'd just like to maybe address a couple of things about the mortgages here. Okay. Just to let you know what were the interest rates since 1975. And if you notice that most of the rates were in double digits till quite a long time. And now after 2006, the interest rate did drop dramatically. Okay. So this is what is happening is 3/4 of Canadians, they are going to see humongous rate, and it may gonna trigger a lot of delinquency or late payments or mortgage defaults. Again, every opportunity comes with good times, bad times. Again, if you're aware of it, we can help fellow Canadians make sure nobody become homeless. We can help fellow Canadians to downsize. It doesn't cost a nickel or dime. And I believe in a good deed or good karma. Do a good karma, save a family, make sure nobody go homeless in Canada. In case you're having a situation where you can't afford a mortgage payment, the government of Canada has a program available. They can provide you information what to do, what not to do. Just Google the word how to afford your mortgage in Canada, and you're gonna come across this website, and they can give you a bit more insightful what can you do in case something happen in case of default. So those who have not been around, I'm an old man, for the last 77 years or a little bit more. The highest peak when I started was in August 81. That was interest rate 22.75%. 22.75%, and we were making money. Excuses are not gonna do much. Creativity, education, support, help, working with experts, definitely is going to do much better for you. So we will skip David. He's not here today. Now what we're going to get into is right now we have about 20 minutes. So we're going to open up the room, and Jerry Hogenhout, Randy Goodman, Jyoti will be taking all your questions, and make sure that whatever you do, ask them a direct question. They'll be more than happy to. It will be a few seconds before you be open to we call break room.